All right, Tuesday night, Raj is in the house. It's the Krug Show. Raj in the house. Draft getting closer. Big night for the Warriors. Raj is decked out. You know what? We're getting at that point where it's, let's just go. Let's just go right here. Right here, right now. It's the Krug Show. All right, Tuesday night, Raj in the house. Giants game going on. Warriors starting at 7. Draft coming up in a week. We got a lot to talk about. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. They do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that Krug sent you. We're also brought to you, as you see over Raj's head there, by LearnKey Upskill Academy. The show is sponsored by LearnKey Upskill Academy. Great news for the Krug Show subscribers. Our sponsor, LearnKey, is offering a free cybersecurity course valued at only $99. The course is titled Protecting Yourself and Your Organization. It's 1 hour long, and it will give you the essential tips on how to keep you and your company safe online. It's a limited time offer, so don't miss out. Check the link in the description below of the video or the live stream to check your free course, to claim your free course, and start learning today at upskill.learnkey.com. Upskill.learnkey.com. And by the way, we also have a contest. We have an NFL draft contest we'll tell you about a little bit later on, but LearnKey is sponsoring our NFL draft contest where you pick the top 12 picks. And there's a link in there. You can win a $100 Visa gift card. So if you know who the top 12 picks in the NFL draft are going to be, check the link below and potentially win a $100 Visa gift card. Raj and I will give you our top 12 before we get out of here. Raj, good to see you, man. Warrior hat, Warrior jersey, Niner logo, Kittle pennant, Bosa pennant. Dude, I don't think your setup there has ever looked better. If you would move maybe 3 inches that way.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're just, a little bit more. No, the other way. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. A little bit more. No, a little bit less. That way. There we go. Right there.
We're cooking.
Get right in the center. And it's like, this is network television right there.
There we go.
Oh, except for the light went out.
I know. It's going to be, it's on, but.
You're a little in the darkness. All right, man. But hey, good to see you. And how do you feel about the Warriors tonight? You feel good?
I'm nervous. That's all I'm going to say. I'm nervous. They can't close out games. I hope they win because if they have to play another playing game, I don't feel too confident. Steph Curry 0-3 in playing games. Jimmy Butler's never lost a play-in. Something's going to give. I'm nervous.
Hey, somebody, go convince Jimmy Butler it's playoffs, right? Because playoff Jimmy, we need playoff Jimmy, and we'll see tonight. Warriors, they've got 2 more chances to get it done. 2 more chances.
But if you lose this game and you have to play Oklahoma, I don't like their chances of playoffs. Now, playoff Jimmy did come to play the last game, Clippers. I was at that game. Right. Now, yeah, I went.
How great was Kawhi Leonard? Oh my God!
He decided to play. All of a sudden, and I can't stand that guy. He's a snake. Let's
not talk them. Warriors coming up later on, but we got the draft coming up in a week or so. So we got a lot to talk about. One of the big stories today is that maybe I don't know if it's credible or not, or how credible it is. Who knows this time of year? But there are some reports that the 49ers may want to trade up into sounds like maybe the top 10 or top 5. They're further up than they're at. They're at the 11th spot right now. I can't imagine who would trade back, but maybe Carolina at 8. They said they want to trade back. Maybe the Raiders at 6. They want Ashton Genty, according to reports. Maybe they'll feel like they could get him with a better value. Do the Niners want to trade up for, a particular player? Who do they think is going to fall? What do you think? Is it Membu? Is it Campbell? Is it Hunter? Is it Graham? Who do you think? Is it Jalen Walker, who's a spectacular prospect? if the Niners, first of all, let's address, do you think it's a legitimate report? And then if you do, who do you think they're trading up for?
So good questions overall. I don't think it's legit. I mean, it's smoke season still. It's the off season. You're still going to hear a lot of like rumors and hearsay and this and that. And I think that's what it is. Now, I'm sure the 49ers have called and, at least threw it out there saying, oh, what would it cost to trade up and this and that. I honestly feel if anything, if the 49ers are going to make any trades, it's trading back to get more talent because the 49ers are coming off a 6-win season. They need depth. They need some holes filled, right? We've talked about this before. Like it'd probably make more sense if they traded back. They need offensive line, defensive line. Their D-line is very thin. I don't believe this holds weight, but it's fun to speculate. It's, that's what the offseason is about, making up speculation, fantasy drafts and mock drafts and everything. So it gets the people talking. It's great for content, but I don't think it's true. I think the 49ers would rather trade back, get more talent. That's my take on it. If it is true, though, Larry,
I
think they'd go for Abdul Carter because they need an absolute monster on the edge, and I think he'd be the guy. He's the best edge rusher in this draft, arguably. So that's where I would go.
It's interesting. It's like Abdul Carter's a great edge rusher, but the more we look at him, the more you see that he's 248 pounds or whatever. He's not a great player against the run on first and second down. In a 4-3, as he have 3-4 outside linebacker. The one thing is like it seems like the Niners like these guys that are 265. Why? Because they're looking for guys who can like set the edge in the run game. And I just kind of wonder at the weight he's at, can he do that? Plus, there's a foot injury, there's a shoulder injury, and there's 3 minor arrests that kind of make you wonder about his character. At least you'd want to ask him about it. Yeah. So there's issues there. Hunter, to me, if I could have anybody, I'd probably go with Hunter. Like if I could have anybody in the draft, I like Hunter. The Graham trading, I don't like the idea of trading up for Graham the more I watch him because I know he's functionally sound. He's really good on first and second down. I don't know that he gives you tons on third down. Third down's the money down.
Yeah.
Second of all, he's got a really bad body. He's kind of pudgy. The other thing is that I just kind of wonder how he's going to stand up against double teams. It just seems like he doesn't seem like he's got overpowering strength. Then the fact that he played at 319, but he worked out at 294. Yeah. That's a big difference right there. You're going to gain 25 pounds each and every year. And then that makes me wonder, like, what's he going to play at and how functionally strong is he? Because he's not a big time pass rusher. So at the end of the day, it seems like if you look at him and project him at the next level, he seems to be kind of like a really high floor, but maybe a little low ceiling. I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure if that's a fair. I know he's a good player, and the Niners look at their defensive line, Raj, and I bet you anything their evaluation is that they need a guy who can play right away. Because who do they have, right? Who are their starters right now are Jordan Elliott and Evan Anderson. So they need a guy probably with this pick who can start. And this is the organization that drafted Bryant Young in the top 10, and I'm sure they're looking for their next Bryant Young. Is Mason Graham that guy? That's the question.
Yeah, no, and he's a good player, but I think you're right. Like, is he going to be a great player, a starter right away? I mean, he probably would with the talent, like you said, Jordan Elliott and Evan Anderson. No disrespect to them and Kevin Gibbons. He'd probably come in and he could be a starter. But given the fact that, like you said, he may not be a third down guy, if you're drafted in the top 15 and you don't get a guy that could play, third down at D tackle, you're kind of killing yourself. And I think there's more value in this draft in a guy like Walter Nolan. There's so many defensive tackles that probably would be better as the value. Like if you trade up to go get Mason Graham, when you could have probably stayed back and grabbed a Walter Nolan, for an example, then you're probably doing a disservice. Like you're not trading up to get a guy that doesn't have as good value as somebody else in the draft. So I agree. If you're going to trade up, it has to be an absolute money home run type player. And I don't really think there's a guy other than, like I said, Abdul Carter, but there are a lot of issues with him. The injuries, it's a real, issue. He is very talented, but injuries are a scary thing. And last season, the 49ers, their season was marred by injuries. Like, do you want to put in another guy that has that risk? You probably don't. So you need to make sure you get a guy that has good value and he's coming in with not a lot of red flags. And that's the type of guy the 49ers need to get. No red flags, home run pick that can start, because you're basically building this draft to be your impact players in the future, because you didn't go out in free agency. You didn't have the money, right? You fix your special teams, but you have not addressed the losses of Hargrave and, other players that they've lost, Greenlaw, right? So, and I know Hargrave didn't play last year, but you still need to address that, because defensive tackle is a premium hole on this team, and edge rusher as well. So you get a guy that you need to get a guy that could come in and make immediate impact. A starter, 100%. Top 15 pick, Larry. If you don't get a starter in this draft on your top 15 pick, a lot of people are going to be upset.
You just got to remember this, and that sounds hyper negative, but if you go back and look at the draft, there's a reason why there's a failure rate to this thing. Some of these guys are going to, one or two of these guys is going to be great, like Hall of Fame great, and go on that trajectory. And maybe, one or two of these guys is just going to be a total bust. Total bust. Does absolutely nothing for whatever reason. And then there's going to be a lot of in between. He was pretty good, but then he hurt his shoulder. He was all right. Actually had a good first year, and then he struggled in year 2. And, there's going to be a lot of in between. The key is to hit. The number one goal is to find the guy who's going to the Hall of Fame. So that's what I'm always looking for. I'm always looking to hit the home run. But at the same time, to make sure you're not taking the guy that gets you fired or is a bust, right? So that's kind of the way I look at this thing. Yeah. And it's hard to say, because even though every year they all look great, it's right. Trey Lance looked great. Yeah. Zach Wilson looked great. Justin Fields, 4.4 speed, accuracy. He's going to be awesome. Trevor Lawrence is a once in a lifetime player. And that was 2021. And here we are. It's 2025. And that's almost like a punchline of a joke now. Mac Jones or Trey Lance. The fact that we took a month to debate between those guys, and now the Niners will have them both. Yeah, and have had them both at least. Let's hope Mac Jones was the right answer. What if Trey Lance is the right answer? We just don't know it yet, because we haven't experienced the Jones experience yet. So it's like you don't know what's going to happen. But if they were trading up, they're trading up for,
I think, Abdul Carter.
And
if I was guessing, yeah.
Right. And if they're staying at 11, you're looking for?
That's the question. And someone posed the question, Julius Callaway. He says, what would you prioritize, edge, defensive tackle, or offensive line? And that's an absolute great question. I think the Niners go best available defensive lineman, whether it be an edge or a defensive tackle. Whoever's the best available is who you got. You got to build that trenches. Like, I know
it's very subjective, though. It's very subjective.
It
as
is.
Far as where they're sitting, it's very, very subjective 100%. About who the best defensive lineman really is.
100%. And it's going to be based on their subjective opinion, because they brought in Robert Salah, and I think it's going to be a lot on his shoulder. Who does he value as the best defensive lineman? And the reason why I say defensive lineman at 11, and it's not, and I've said this before, it's
when you say defensive line, it can't be outside linebacker or linebacker. It has to be a defensive line.
I think it has to be defensive line.
And are you saying defensive tackle or defensive end or tackle?
Edge or tackle. Like I said, the best player available. I mean, Jay Walker could kind of fit that mold, because he could do a little bit of both, and he kind of fits two holes, right? Linebacker, edge. He could be a pass rusher, and then he could get another edge later. But the reason why I say not offensive lineman, it's, to me, listening to Kyle, listening to John Lynch these last couple of weeks, they're fine with their offensive lineman. They need a guard, but I don't think there's a guard good enough to go grab at 11. Like, I just don't see it. I think they're okay with waiting till the third round to get a guard. They did it last year at Pooney, and it worked out great. So I think the strategy is build your defense, because that defense last year could not stop the run. So you need to get a guy, like you said, set the edge if he's an edge rusher, or a big monster in the middle that can, eat between the space and stop the run and rush the passer. So to me, that's the biggest need. Going off of what you said earlier too, is you don't know if who you're going to get is going to be a star. You do need to get a guy that could be a potential all-pro, Hall of Fame type guy at this pick. But defensive lineman's kind of tough, because the 49ers have made a lot of bad decisions in this pick. They've went Javon Kinlaw, they got Solomon Thomas, even offensive lineman, Mike McGlinchey. Like, these were picks that they thought they were going to be home runs, and they weren't. So they got to get a Nick Bosa type player at this position.
It's an interesting draft. There really is an interesting draft. Okay, so Raj, just like if we took what you stated there and said the best defensive lineman available at 11 is basically to sum up what you said, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
This is who, just looking at the Mel Kiper mock, 2-round mock that I have in front of me, this is who he has in order as the best defensive players, or best defensive lineman, I should say, from 11 on. He has Mike Green.
Okay.
He has Derek Harmon. He has Mikael Williams. He has Donovan Ezeraku. He has Shamar Stewart. He has James Pierce. And then after that, believe it or not, he's got Oladejo. Then he's got Walter Nolan. Then Kenneth Grant.
No.
So that's how he's got the defensive lineman coming off the board. And in this mock, in the Kiper mock, it's a really intriguing mock because if you thought Mel Kiper really knew this like the back of his hand and his mock was gospel, this would be incredibly exciting because he has the 49ers getting Kenneth Grant at 43.
Wow.
And he has Tyler Booker, who I think is a dominating guard.
Good player.
He's got him on the board. I think he's a Hall of Famer. He's so good.
You think he's that good? So you think he's better than me?
I think Tyler Booker is going to be one of the best guards in the NFL for the next 10 years.
So do you think, my question to you, Larry,
Quentin
going
Nelson.
off Tyler Booker, is he better than any defensive player? So if you're 11, Tyler Booker better than any of those defensive linemen that's going to be available?
There's positional value that sometimes matters a little bit, and guard doesn't have great positional value. So the value overall has to be weighed against the positional value. It's like saying, I could have this awesome Hall of Fame punter. Yeah, but do you want him first? No, because there's positional value. So there's that factor. And I'm not trying to soft pedal it. At the end of the day, Raj, I think this is all a big, the dog and pony show about as far as the rankings and this and that, because it's all these are decisions made by groups of people and how they rank players and also their needs and their injuries and their ownership whims and their pressures and all that. So this is far from a scientific thing, and it's people picking people. And a lot of these players after the top 4 or 5, it's pretty random. I bet you if I had to predict anything, I would predict that the mocks are going to be way off. Mm-hmm. And that it's going to be, there'll be guys drafted all over the board that you're like, whoa, I thought that guy was going top 5. He wound up or top 10. He wound up in the second round. I think that it's that kind of a draft. Just one side note, somebody said that the Ravens, Eric DeCosta said they had 15 guys this year that they took off their board altogether for whatever reason. So that could have been injury related or that could have been character related. So that's a sizable number of guys that, that we think are in the draft that maybe NFL teams don't think are in the draft. And it could be even a bigger number than that because the Ravens could be conservative. More concerned teams might have 20 or 30 guys that are not even on their board because of character issues or issues with whatever health or medical risks or whatever. So there's always that factor. But I think it's interesting because if you're the Niners, you could possibly, go with any of these guys at 11 and then maybe get a guy like Kenneth Grant in round 2. I wouldn't bank on it. But what do you think, Raj? In this draft, you could draft Kenneth Grant at 11 or Walter Nolan at 11 and still get Tyler Booker at 43. And if you got a jumbo tackle and a jumbo guard to start it off, I'd be fine.
I'd be so happy if they went that way. You get a starting guard and a starting defensive tackle in your first 2 picks. You just want to draft that to me is what they need to do. Like 2 guys that can make immediate impact. I'd be so happy with that, Larry. I think that would be an ideal start to the draft. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, I think that'd be great. 100%.
So of those guys, Green, Harmon, Mikael Williams, Donovan Ezeraku, Shamar Stewart, James Pierce, and we'll throw in Oladejo, Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant. Who do you want among those players at 11?
It'd probably be a toss-up between Harmon and Nolan at those 2 players. Number 3 probably be Green. I really like him as an edge. I think he'd be fantastic. I think that's a guy that Salah would like. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably say Nolan. I think he's probably got the best ceiling at all three of those guys. But I mean, again, you got to
I,
make the right decision.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And also, the one thing is, we haven't met any of these guys. So we
Yeah.
don't know their attitude and but Walter Nolan coming out of high school was a 5-star prospect. And he's he's an incredible player against the run and the pass, I think, based on what I saw at Ole Miss and at A&M. So that would be the route I'd go as well. Walter Nolan, and then I'd take Kenneth Grant or Tyler Booker. I mean, if I could go get Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant in the same draft, I would do it. But if I could get Tyler Booker in round 2, I would do that. To me, the Niners need help at the point of attack on both sides of the ball. That's, I think, the primary need, because that's where it all starts. If you can't stop the run, you're not beating anybody. And if you can't run for a yard, same. You're not beating anybody. Yeah, so it's really that's where it's got to go. There's another interesting little rumor today, a little wrinkle, and that was that Jalen Ramsey, the Dolphins, had some news coming out of their camp today saying that Tyreek Hill's not going anywhere, that they're not going to trade Tyreek Hill. And I think maybe that means that they've shopped him and they're not getting what they want. Yeah. Now they're playing the PR game, but Tyreek Hill, they say, is not going anywhere, or maybe it's a precursor to, it's a smokescreen and they're going to try to deal him during draft weekend, but they said he's not going anywhere. And they said that Jalen Ramsey most likely is going to be traded. And the sportsbetting.ag line is out on Ramsey's next home. Raiders are the 4-1 favorite. Cardinals are the second choice at 5-1. Cowboys are the third choice at 6-1. Niners are the next choice at 7-1. He's 30. Doesn't seem like how does Ramsey, trading for Ramsey, go into younger, healthier, cheaper? But Jed did reference we're going to try to do everything in our power to improve our football team, and said trades, which are not very common in the NFL. So maybe he had one in mind. What do you think? Should the Niners trade for Jalen Ramsey if the price was right? And what price is that going to be for you?
I mean, at the end of the day, the way you phrased it, if the price is right, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't be opposed to it. Now, going off of what their model is or their plan of getting younger and cheaper, it doesn't necessarily vibe with that. But you do have to have a few veterans here and there. And you're right. York did mention they're not done yet. They might make some trades or moves or something. Draft comes, and you never know. Maybe you wheel and deal and move some draft trades here and there. So I think it's definitely a possibility. Do I think it happens? I think not. I don't think it's going to happen. Would I hate it? No. I think if the price is right, definitely could something, could materialize. Now, this is the thing. A lot of people keep saying the 49ers desperately need to replace Mooney Ward, this and that. They already have his replacement, Renardo Green. People overlook him. I think people are forgetting Renardo Green's your CB2. Diamo Lenore is a really good cornerback. He's their CB1. Like, they paid him a lot of money last year. I think Ramsey definitely, though, would help this CB room. He's a good veteran. I think the price would probably be a 6th-round pick. I don't think you're getting much more out of. I mean, at this point, he's 30, a little older, not as good as a guy like Patrick Surtain. At this point, he was the top cornerback in the league, but as you get older, your value diminishes. Maybe a 5th-round pick is what the Dolphins could get for him. But yeah, if they can get him for a 5th or 6th round, I wouldn't hate it. And I definitely think he could help out, but I don't think the Niners are going to make the move from him.
No, he doesn't seem like he jives with the direction they're going. I understand why, it's intriguing because he's a big corner. He's athletic. They need a corner. I think they absolutely, I mean, if you said to me, give me some absolutes on this draft, they absolutely have to come out of this draft with a cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because right now you've got Trey Brown as your third best cornerback, and he's small. He hasn't played a lot. He's had injuries. I mean, you've got very little depth there. You've had, years where you've shown up in camp with 6 or 7 or 8 interesting cornerback prospects. This year, you're going to struggle to just get the 5 that you're going to need for the final cut. So they're going to really, I think corner is a necessity. They got to find a corner. Doesn't have to be early. Doesn't have to be with the 11th pick in the draft, but they got to find a corner. All right. And I never gave what I think they're going to do, but I would say Walter Nolan too. I would say Walter Nolan is what I would go with as well. If I had to predict, I know there's some character, issues that have to be looked into, and there's some people that feel like his motor doesn't rev hot, but man, what that guy can do as a rusher and as a run defender, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
All right. There's been a lot of reports that, the Aiyuk bonus money having come and being paid already, that Aiyuk is going to be a Niner. He's been at the facility, and that seems to be the direction everything's going, that he is going to be a 49er. Now, when is he going to return? Who knows? He's still rehabbing his injury. Some people are saying week 1. I think week 1's totally crazy, but I would say probably November would be when I would expect him back. What do you think we can expect from Aiyuk? And there still are those who suggest, Fox said it, Ralph Vacchiano the other day, a big article that Aiyuk still could be traded during the draft. Is there any chance that Aiyuk gets moved during the draft, or is he going to be a 49er in 2025?
Yeah, no, good question. I know there's still people out there saying that they're going to trade him. And I mean, obviously, it's, again, smoke season. It's the off season. There's a lot of rumors. And until it happens in the draft, even every year, there's always talk like, look, 49ers trade this guy, that guy, the other. Yeah, it's not going to get shut down until the draft. I don't think they're going to trade him. Also, congrats to my boy, BA. He got married this weekend. I think he's, having a good off season. He's rehabbing. He looks like he's getting healthy. That's everything that we've been told. John Lynch says he's coming along. You said he's at the facility. So looks like his mind is getting right. He's kind of in a better mentality. I think you're right. November is probably the best prediction of when he's coming back. But I do think Brandon Aiyuk will be on the Niners for at least this year, 2025. They got, the guaranteed money hit. I just don't think it makes sense for them to trade him, even if they get a great, value for him during the draft. I just don't think that anybody's going to give him a lot of value for a guy that, again, he might miss a lot of time during the season. He's due a lot of money. I just don't think it makes much sense for the 49ers in that aspect. And I think he will come back, and hopefully he's ready and has his mind in the right place and ready to, produce and prove himself, because he does have a lot to prove now coming in the season. So he'll probably be hungry to go out there and really show that, hey, man, I got to show you why I earned this money. So I think he'll be a Niner. I don't think he gets traded. I just think a lot of it is just smoke season right now.
It's so hard to say how they feel about him, how he feels about them, how this is going to go. It's really difficult to say. I mean, I think, he's fine with them. I think they're fine with him. I could see them going on, or I also could see them getting an offer for him to move somewhere in the draft or for some draft compensation and then biting the bullet. You got to remember this. The question was, the 49ers are willing to listen to offers for Brandon Aiyuk. That was the story, that they were willing to listen. And I'm sure they did listen, right? But their ask was probably higher than what teams were offering. But now the situation's a little different, because now the situation is that money's been paid. So there's less money owed to him. So in some ways he becomes more valuable in the eyes of the team that potentially would trade for him. So it's really hard to say. How motivated are the Niners to move on from the player? And it would be more like they're moving on from the person. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't expect him to be moved, but like if he was moved, my level of shock would be low. I don't think I'll be shocked if he's moved, because one, how do you get moved? You get moved when you're valuable, because somebody wants you, and you get moved because, the other team, thinks it's in their best interest. And I think the financial aspect of this could make it in the 49ers' best interest. So we'll see. He's their best receiver, or at least he was before he went out. And if he returns to be the player that he was, heck, I mean, they need their best receiver. I mean, at the end of the day, especially with Debo moving on. So I hope he's not moving on. But once again, if he is, it would not be like, oh my, whoa, I can't believe there was a reversal. No, I guess I could still picture it.
No, it's a fair take. I think it's a fair take, because they have said that they've been looking. So, I mean, if something comes at the midnight hour and like, oh my God, we have to take it, I wouldn't be shocked. But I just think that they've kind of they made up, and said, hey, we're going to figure it out and move on. But Yeah, you know, during the draft weekend, so much things happen, calls are happening, and if you need a certain guy that you're like, oh my god, we have to get it, and certain guys are, you know, inserted in trades, you never know. You can never say never during draft weekend. So yeah, to that point, I'm not going to shut the door on it. But if I had to give you a level of like 0 to 10, if it's going to happen, I would say 9 out of 10. It's not going to happen.
I would say more like 7. I'll go
Okay.
7.
Okay.
I would say it's very unlikely they'll trade for Ramsey, and also unlikely they'll trade Aiyuk. That you know, but as far, and they're probably both pretty. They're both. I'd give them each about 20-25%. Maybe that's 75%. I get 75%. Not going to happen. Okay, so I made the to-do list of the Niners to-do lists for the draft. This is how I have it. Tell me what you think.
Okay.
Number 1, and this is, by the way, in order of how I was thinking about it. So in some ways, the order is kind of the priorities. Number 1, rebuild the D-line with dynamic inside players and pass rushers. Why? Because 3/4 of your D-line left. And so, and you don't, and your backups are not that great. So D-line.
Okay.
That to me should be the theme. It's got, if you don't draft 4 D linemen, you probably haven't drafted enough.
Okay.
To me, I'll put the over under at 4.5, and I would go over. I would say 5 D linemen are probably coming their way, but that's just a guess.
Wow.
That's a lot, but that's what they need. Okay, so number 2, I have rebuild the O-line from the inside out.
Agreed.
So my point is just here why the Niners can't run inside anymore. I mean, their runners are getting destroyed. I mean, McCaffrey and Mason and Mitchell all got hurt. They all got hurt because they're just getting crushed inside because they're not opening any run lanes inside, and they're still trying to run inside. These guys are running into a brick wall. So the Niners have got to figure out, I don't know what the issue is, who the issue is, if it's the left guard spot, the center spot, the fullback. They got to figure it out. They got to be able to run the ball. So I would say rebuild the offensive line and think about the interior. So give somebody that can give you some push. You didn't get a lot from Banks last year.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, get some super dynamic offensive skill position players. Yeah. The Niners were 32nd last year in wide receiver separation. They've got to get some dynamic guys with some speed and some big playability, whether it be tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, combo guys. Doesn't really matter. It's interesting. One of the articles out today by Eric Branch in the Chronicle says the 49ers need running back depth. Could they pick a Deebo Samuel replacement? What do you think, Raj? Do you think that, he is suggesting here in this article that they need a Deebo replacement, and is suggesting, let's see, the guy he's saying is Brashard Smith from SMU. He says that brings us to SMU's Brashard Smith, a converted wide receiver who ran 4.39 at the combine, was the only FBS player to have at least 1,300 rushing yards, 300 yards receiving, and 300 yards in kickoff returns this year. 3 seasons at wide receiver at Miami, transferred to SMU. They moved him to running back. He ranked 4th in the FBS in all-purpose yards with 1,977 while catching 39 passes. I agree with Branch here quite a bit. Smith's 5'10", 195, so he's not big. But, Raj, I see an explosive home run hitter as a guy that can be played as a receiver or a running back. I think you could play him at receiver. If the Niners see that, this is an attractive player because I think he could play receiver and give them big playability while Aiyuk is out, and give them that home run hitting ability, but maybe be a part-time running back. The only real concern with him as a running back is his thighs are, he's kind of linear. He's kind of small down low. He's not a big, thick guy. So
he's not built like Deebo, is what you're saying.
He's not built like Deebo, and he's not built to take hits to his legs. And I think that's why, even though they moved him from receiver to running back, I actually think for the Niners, I love this kid, but I would move him back from running back to receiver and just play him as a receiver. Get him off the line of scrimmage, but he's a home run hitter. I mean, he's a great player. I think Branch outlines it pretty well here. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be him particularly. I mean, they 100% need a guy that can be a home run hitter because we've talked about Debo a lot. I know he wasn't what he was last year, the injuries, the pneumonia, all this stuff kind of caught up to him, but they need a guy that can be a tone setter. We've said that word many times with Debo. He's a guy that, really dictated the way the offense. Kyle's going to miss Debo. He kept him around. He loves Debo with what he was able to bring to this offense. He was a guy he handpicked, went to the Senior Bowl. He's like, oh my God, I need that in my offense. So the motions, the way that Kyle utilizes this offense, right? Run first offense, like you mentioned. They need a guy that can just boom, home run, slant and go. Yak, that's what they do in this offense. It's like boom, hit the pass and then yards after catch. They need a guy. Like obviously, you lost Debo. Brandon Aiyuk's going to be hurt. You're going to rely on Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, but they need a guy that can just be that boom. One play, get you 65 yards in a cloud of dust, 70 yards. Like they need a home run hitter type guy. And 100%, I agree with that. They need playmakers because you've lost some offense. You've lost some playmakers. We all think Christian McCaffrey's amazing, but how healthy is he going to be this season? And you need a guy that can just take some pressure off of him. So no matter who you go and draft, you need a guy that's going to come in and get you some offense. And in the NFL, you need a bunch of playmakers. You need fast guys. You just need weapons no matter what kind of offense you have. So I agree with that take. I also agree with what you said about offensive line and, D-line. We both think that D-line is the biggest priority. I said that earlier. And O-line, I agree. You need to go from the inside out because that push, I mean, Spencer Burford, Ben Barch, no disrespect to him. I don't know if they can be top quality starters. And you lost a starter in Aaron Banks. 100% need to replace this guy at left guard. They're not giving up on Jake Brendel. If you can get a center that's better than him, great. But I just don't know if there's a lot in this draft. So go get a home run guard. And I think that would make your offensive line 100 times better than what it is right now. Maybe not 100 times, but make it a lot better. So, yeah, I agree with that, Larry.
It's funny. Cynthia, and hello, Cynthia, says, Larry, which player would you recommend for the O-line that would help facilitate the run game? I'd recommend two guys, Tyler Booker from Alabama and Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. And Donovan Jackson was a right guard for Ohio State who played left tackle when Simmons went out for the year and led them to the national championship as a left tackle. He's got really, really long arms. He's a two-way player. He can play guard or tackle legitimately. And I think Donovan Jackson, because the Niners needed the starter. I mean, I love Ben Barch, great guy. I don't think I'd want him as the full-time starter. He hasn't been a full-time starter in years. And he's, I don't think he'd stay healthy. So yeah. I think Donovan Jackson in round 2 would be a fantastic round 2 pick if you went D-line in round 1. Or if you trade back in round 1, I could go with Tyler Booker. To me, it's funny. I saw Baldy. I was calling Baldy to have Baldy on the show because we're going to have Baldy on the show after the draft. Yeah. And I saw his path to the draft thing on the NFL Network, and I'm like, dude, Baldy, I saw your Tyler Booker thing. I said he would just be. I would love it if the Niners would get him for Banks. And he sent me back a thing, he'd be the perfect replacement for Banks. They would never, worry about that again. And this is a former NFL offensive lineman who sees Booker the way I see Booker. Yeah. Booker he's a Canton player. If you look closely, he's got the ridiculous measurables and he's a destroyer. He's like if you got Quentin Nelson. So to me, that's the guy. And I know he's slowish, but he had a faster 40 than Dom Pooney. So it's not like the guy can't move at all. I mean, the guy can move. He's 330 pounds, got 35-inch arms. He dominated the SEC. When Alabama lost to Vandy, according to the scouts, he was the guy that circled the room and got them all back together and reloaded. And that's the kind of, oh no, Harper, deep. Oh, it's gone. 2-run shot. Phillies up 6-3. 6-3, Raj.
Can't win them all.
Bottom 7. Still time. Giants are scoring runs. Yeah. It's not over, folks. It's not over. No reason to leave. Well, you're in Philadelphia. They're in Philadelphia. But yeah, Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker would be the guys that I would recommend. And I also love, and I'm not going to shy away. I love Willie Lampkin, and I don't love him just only as he's not just like a pet project or like some, it's neat, kind of cute. I think he's great. I think he's legitimately great. And I think he's going to be a great center for somebody, if not a fullback. And I saw an interview that Steph Sanchez did with him. And he said the teams came up to him and were like, hey, we don't want you as an offensive lineman. We only want you as a fullback. So, it's not crazy for me to sit there and go, hey, you know what? I want that guy as a fullback. To me, he would be a fantastic backup center. He's got great movement ability, the arms of a 6'5" man, great leverage. And then use him if all of a sudden he can emerge as a fullback, great. But I love him as an interior blocker.
He'd be a massive fullback. Jeez.
Be a massive fullback at 2. Well, he probably had to drop down to about 270.
Yeah.
But he's 5'10", so it's probably not a problem. But yeah, so that would be my list. Rebuild the D-line, rebuild the O-line from the inside out, get some dynamic offensive skill position guys, and then day 3, draft your whole set of linebackers on day 3. It's a phenomenal day 3 linebacker draft. Draft a solid cornerback if you can. And then, if possible, draft a sleeper quarterback. And I'll give you the guys that I like. I like Riley Leonard. I like Cam Miller a little bit, Seth Hennigan a little bit, Brady Cook a little bit, Peyton Thorne a little bit, and Taylor L. Gersma. But I'm a Riley Leonard fan. And all I would say is, I just did a video on this, Riley Leonard no matter what video. Riley Leonard is really special. That's a really special quarterback prospect. I see a little bit of Joe, a little bit of Steve, a little bit of Brock. I mean, that kid is special. He is special. Go watch the Gruden quarterback school with Riley Leonard, and then tell me that kid is not going to be an NFL quarterback of note. He is sharp as hell, leader at 2 schools, super mobile, plenty of arm. Unbelievable. Somebody told me too, remember that Steve Young, that night where it was Brock, Steve Young, Mayoka was on stage.
Yeah, that I went to that. Yeah, that event.
Supposedly Riley Leonard went to that.
Was he there? He wasn't on stage. No, but I mean,
but supposedly he went to that. Somebody told me he was actually there at that event with Alex Smith,
Brock, Alex Smith, Jeff Garcia, Brock. Yeah, it was a fun event.
I mean, that right there, that to me is pretty cool. The fact that he went to that. So yeah, I'm a big Riley Leonard fan, and I know it's probably going to take like a 4th or 5th round pick, and they probably have other needs, so it probably doesn't make sense. But if there would be one move I would make in this draft that does not make sense based on the 49ers needs and whatever, it would be drafting that kid. Why? Because he's real and he's going to be good. And even though you have Brock Purdy, if Riley Leonard is the player that I think he is, then drafting him in the 4th or 5th round right now and trading him in 2 years or, for something way, way better is a great way to go. It's a great way to go.
It's a smart strategy. But like you said, there's so many different needs. I just don't see them taking a quarterback before 6. I mean, it would definitely
it's a day 3 thing for sure. I mean, there'll be an argument if they try to take Riley Leonard, in that room because but once again, if you like there's an old saying, if you like a quarterback, you can't overdraft him.
Yeah, it's true.
That's what
yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, it's like, we'll see where it goes. But that's my thought on it. I love that kid. I think he's really, really good. 2 last things before we get out of here. One, what, I know I was going to ask you. Mikael Williams, how do you, for me, there's one, do you have a prospect that it's okay, I want the Niners to get this guy. Hey, I want the Niners to get that guy. Is there a prospect out there that other people like, Raj, or that maybe other, who knows who likes him, but a prospect out there and you're like, you know what? I just wish the 49ers steer clear of that prospect.
Yeah.
Who would be your guy? Who would be, for me, it's Mikael Williams from Georgia. And the more I looked into his draft bio, the more I watched on him, the more I'm thinking, gosh, I just think, George, it's like Robert Beal was big, strong, fast, and yet Robert Beal's not special. And I'm fearful of Mikael Williams being one of these guys that looks the part, but is not as good as his talent. I was reading some of the negatives. According to Brugler, doesn't have a consistent rush plan or arsenal of secondary moves. Too much wasted movement with his hands. Gets too upright at the snap. Low-end tackle production. Stats don't match his traits. Played in a deep rotation, so he was never asked to play a full deal. Had some injuries with the ankle. I don't know. I just see a guy that looks the part, but the profile isn't, the production wasn't there. So it was like, okay, well, let's see. Maybe the athleticism and profile will be really, really good. But then when you look at the athleticism profile, and you're like, well, wait a second. His athleticism profile was that he ran 4.77. That's not a burning time, 4.77. So I'm just, that's what do you, is there a guy that that in the draft that may or may not be coming to the Niners that you're like, steer clear?
He's definitely one of them, but I got two. I don't know. I don't like Kelvin Banks. I know if 49ers take him, I would be like, oh, okay, got an offensive tackle help, but I'm just not high on the guy. I don't think that he'd be great. I don't know. I think he'd be a guy that just ends up failing, and then there's the Shamar Stewart. I mean, he had all the draft combine hype, and he's a riser, and it's like, oh my God, he killed the combine. But when you look at his tape and what he did in college, he really didn't do anything. He didn't have a lot of, productivity. And I think those are two guys that could be on the Niners in a couple of weeks. And I hope that they aren't going to be on Niners. I mean, if they do draft them, hopefully they turn out. But those are two guys that I'm not as high on that a lot of people are. A lot of people love those two guys.
Yeah. I mean, in once again, I think it's, like the draft is a coin flip. I think this is a coin flip. I kind of like Shamar Stewart, just because he's got crazy athleticism and talent and a motor, and he led them in pressures. But guess what? I'm an A&M fan. I watched all those games. He does miss a lot of tackles.
Yeah.
He misses a lot of tackles. I mean, that's just, he's awesome at times, and he misses a lot of tackles. And then with Georgia, I would just say I watch Georgia all the time, and I just don't see Mikael Williams that much. I mean, I see a lot of Jalen Walker. I see a lot of Malachi Starks.
Yeah.
Those guys just seem like are everywhere. But Jalen Walker, just not as much. Let's finish with this. One of our sponsors is LearnKey Upskill Academy, and we have a brand new NFL draft contest. We're teaming up with LearnKey for a special April draft NFL draft challenge where people on the channel can predict the top 12 picks in the upcoming NFL draft for a shot to win a $100 Visa gift card. So first place gets a $100 Visa gift card. Second place gets a $50 Visa gift card. It's totally free to enter. Just fill out the Google form linked in the description below with your predictions for picks 1 through 12. Kev will read through them. The entries will be graded based on how many correct player to pick matches you get. Plus the winners, both winners, will get to come on the Krug Show during draft weekend. And so hit the link, lock in your draft board. Let's see who really knows their draft. Good luck. Big thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring this episode. And once again, as I said, the links are in the description below. Check out the Google form and just, give us your picks 1 through 12. We're going to make our guesses right here. All right, let's do it. Let's start this off. Titans with the first pick, Raj. You're saying they go with?
I mean, this is a no-brainer. This is probably the easiest pick. It's Cam Ward.
Cam Ward. I agree. Cam Ward's going to the Titans, number 1. All right, I will go with the second pick. I will say the Browns will debate between Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, and I think they go Travis Hunter. I think Travis Hunter is a two-way player. You put him and Denzel Ward on the same tandem, and he gives you that wide receiver that the Browns also need. So I see Travis Hunter goes 2. What do you think?
I agree. I 100% agree. Travis Hunter is going to be number 2. I think they'll look at 3 guys. I think they'll look at Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, and I think Shador would be their third one because quarterback is not their strong suit. But I think ultimately a guy like Travis, man, he's going to sell seats. He'd be fantastic two-way player, and I think that he'll be number 2 pick. He's such a good block. He's so good, man. He's amazing. He's the pick. Yeah.
Number 3. Who do you got? New York Giants on the board. Who are the Giants going to take at 3 in your mind?
This is to me between 2 guys again, Abdul Carter and Shador. I think quarterback. They're going to look at a quarterback very intently, but they did bring in several quarterbacks, Russ and Jameis, and I mean they're not franchise guys anymore. They're guys that could maybe bridge the gap for a little bit, but I don't think that the quarterback of the future for them is in this draft. So I think they'll pass on Shador and they'll go Abdul Carter.
You know, if we're really going to predict what's going to happen here, I mean, I actually think what's going to happen here is I don't think they're going to Abdul Carter. I think they're going to New York Giants are going to trade that pick to Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is going to come in and get Abdul Carter. Okay. My guess is Jacksonville trades up for Abdul Carter. The Giants trade down, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But go ahead. Giants trade down with the Jaguars from 3 to 5, and the Jaguars take Abdul Carter. So Abdul Carter goes number 3 anyway.
I like it.
Fourth pick. I'm going to say the Patriots debate on a bunch here, but I'm going to say they're going Will Campbell. I think the left tackle, they're going to try to, they drafted Drake May. They like Drake May. They're going to try to take care of Drake May. If there was an awesome receiver, they would go that direction. But I think they want that left tackle, and I don't think they're going to be deterred by the 33-inch arms.
No, I agree. I think that it's going to be a bunch of tackles they're going to look at, and ultimately I think they're going to value Campbell. I think he should be the best. I think he should be the number 1 tackle. If it's not him, it's Membu. I think those are the 2 guys they look at, and I think Campbell will be their guy. I want to go back to the Giants. I think next year is when they're going to try to get that quarterback. They want Arch Manning. I think if you're a quarterback needy team like the Browns and the Giants, they're banking on Arch Manning next year. So that's my take on it.
I agree, but I just think that their thinking was, about all over the place. I mean, why? Because they really want a quarterback. But, I mean, they've been looking at Tyler Shugg. They've been looking at different guys in later rounds because they want a quarterback. But I don't think they want to go Shador up top. But I also don't think they want Abdul Carter. So I think they trade back to this spot at 5. And I think they take Ashton Genty in front of the Raiders to replace what they lost in Saquon Barkley. Because, you got Russell and you got the incredible receiver and you got Jameis as the backup. If you really want to, let's think about this logically. It's New York, these guys are on the freaking hottest of hot seats, right? Do they really want to draft either, a rookie quarterback that's going to, have a rough first year? Most likely not. They're going to want to get Ashton Genty because then they've got Malik Neighbors, Ashton Genty, Russell Wilson, and they potentially can win some games and save their jobs. Otherwise, the head coach and the GM might get dumped. So I think this is a save butt campaign, and they lost at Saquon Barkley in the division after their owner said, God, I would really hate that to happen. And it happened. It was like literally the worst moment of the Giants season all into one moment. The guy won the Super Bowl. So I think that's been sitting with them all off season. I think they're dreaming of winning next year. And I think Genty is a win now proposition. So I think Genty goes 5 in front of the Raiders.
Good take. I mean, the only thing is the Giants, the reason why they're in their position is because the GM is terrible. So maybe they might fumble it, but honestly, it's not a bad take. But if going on my 4, if there's no trades, I got first pick was Cam, second pick was Travis, third Abdul, and then Will Campbell. And then I got the Jaguars at 5. I think you're going Mason Graham. If it falls into that order, I think they go Mason Graham because Abdul would be taken. So they're taking the best available defensive tackle in their minds.
Yeah. I think that Mason Graham also is going. I just think that he'll go to the Raiders at 6 and to the Jaguars at 5. And we basically have the same 5 guys at the top, or the same 6 guys at the top. I just have Genty going 5 to the Giants, and you have Genty, or we have Graham going 5 to the Jags.
Yeah.
You think the Raiders are going Genty at 6?
100%. If he's still on the board, which you're very right, that somebody might move up because he's a talent that can really change an offense. I think the Raiders they're screaming for him. They might even trade up to get Genty because I think they need a playmaker on this offense. And I don't think there's a quarterback for them right now in the first couple picks that they're like screaming to get. I know they'll probably look at Shador, but I think ultimately they want Genty at 6. Yeah.
Here's the other thing that very much could happen. You could, if the Giants do this trade with the Jaguars, like I'm predicting, and if the Giants wound up sitting there at 5, and Campbell goes 4 and Carter goes 3 to the Jaguars, and then Genty goes 5 in front of the Raiders. Yeah. I could see the Raiders at 6 either taking Mason Graham or potentially trading back, and that could be the team that trades back with the Niners.
Okay.
Because then you're talking about, really shaking it up a little bit. Yeah. Genty's not there. Do the Raiders go Graham, or do the Raiders say, let's trade back to 11 and go Shador, or try to move down the board? I could see the Niners then trading up for Graham. I personally don't like the idea of trading up for Graham, but if you said to me, do you think there's something to the rumors that indicate the 49ers are trading up for Graham? I would say yes. And I don't think the Niners want to trade very much. So I think they're probably targeting Carolina, the Jets, and the Raiders in that 6, 7, 8 outside the top 5. That would be my guess. I wouldn't want them to do it. I'd rather go the other way, as we said many times. But if Mason Graham falls, and the Raiders don't want to take him, I could see the Raiders calling the Niners and hooking up a trade there. Niners get to 6 and take. How about this for a trade? How about Niners trade 11 and Aiyuk to the Raiders for 6 and Mayer?
Wow.
And the Niners take Mason Graham at 6, and the Raiders take Amarion Hampton at 11. Wow.
That would break the internet, Larry.
That would be amazing. All right. So anyway, we don't know what's going on there. Jets at 7. What do you think? I mean, if it goes Ward, Hunter, Carter, Campbell, Mason Graham, Genty in whatever team order, what do the Jets do at 7?
I think they're going offensive lineman. I think they take Membu. I think that's what makes sense for them at this point. I don't think they go anything else but O-line. I think they're going to stack the trenches.
I agree. I totally agree. You got Olu Fashanu at left tackle. Now you got Membu at right tackle. If you're going to try to build around Russell or behind Justin Fields, then you want to give him some protection. Jets have had a really bad O-line. This would give them bookend tackles for the next decade. I mean, they would be set at tackle. All right, so then you got I agree with that one. Jets are going Membu at 7. The only thing I'll say is there is a wild card here you're starting to be in the quarterback wild card range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would say 6, 7, 8, 9 in right there is going to be probably that would be my guess. Not because just because of if you want a guy, hey, you know what, fear of where am I going to get my guy? I mean, if you like a guy that you're going to quarterback enough that you're going to draft him in the first round, you're going to give him the keys to your kingdom, so to speak. So you probably have a pretty high opinion of him. So what do you think the Panthers do at 8? Dan Morgan, the general manager, stated today that, he's not looking to trade down, but he's definitely will listen on trade backs. It sounds like he'd like to trade back, and he should. Carolina's got a bunch of needs, and one pick's not going to solve their situation.
Yeah, I could see them trading. I think, right. Like, this is a point where quarterback, I think the Saints, they might say, screw it. We want to make sure nobody takes our quarterback or does anything crazy. Maybe the Saints trade, because I think the Saints are going to go Shador. But I think Carolina would probably trade back with the team. Even the Niners maybe go back and get a guy. I think Jalen Walker makes sense. I think maybe the receiver, Tetriota, what's his Matt?
Teteroa McMillan.
Yeah, that's the name. I think that's a guy they look into because I think they want to build around, obviously, Bryce Young, get him some more weapons. They got him Xavier Legette last year. Maybe get another weapon, right? Get him another receiver. So it's a team that could trade, but I think if they stay pat, they'll probably take Walker. I think they'll take Jalen Walker. at that spot, but I could see them trading back like I'd be surprised if Carolina doesn't trade back. I really feel like they're a team that's going to trade, but I'm going to say Walker if they stay put.
Well, I would say they're going to trade back too. Why? Because I think most people will think the Saints are going quarterback, and we don't know which quarterback they're going with. So if you're a team that likes Shador or Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe, I think the Panthers at 8 is the team you got to trade. You got to talk to about a trade. So I think they're somebody trades up here. I think in front of the Saints to probably take Shador. There are teams that are very passionate about Shador Sanders. There are teams that are passionate about Jackson Dart. I think somebody trades up with the Panthers and takes most likely, I'll say Jackson Dart, and then Shador goes 9 to the Saints, or maybe Shador and then the Saints go with Jackson Dart. I could see something like that.
So who do you think trades up to get the Dart?
To get Shador
or Dart?
Mike Tomlin loves Shador.
Okay, Steelers. Okay.
Mike Tomlin loves Shador, according to some reports, but he might not be the only one. I think there's people out there that really like Shador quite a bit, but it's hard to necessarily know. I mean, like the Browns have a high second-round pick.
They do.
I could see them trading into the first round for a Shador or Tyler Shugg. But I think quarterbacks, I think the lack of conviction that the Panthers seem to have in their position there, I think that's a quarterback right there. I think it goes quarterback, 8, 9. Dart or Milroe would be a surprise. Shador Sanders. I personally like probably Dart and then Milroe and then Sanders in that order. Some people like Sanders the most. How would you rank Dart, Milroe, and Sanders? I'd go Dart, Milroe, and then Sanders.
I got an opposite from you. I got Sanders, Dart, and then Milroe. I'm not a big Milroe guy.
I'm not either, but Milroe's 4.3 speed and has
some. Yeah, you got the speed. You're right.
And he played at Bama and made some good throws. I mean, I saw him look great in the Iron Bowl when he hit Isaiah Bond in the back of the end zone. I mean, he can do it. It's just a matter of, how comfortable is he in?
Yeah, and he has that right coaching.
Yeah, right. And the right system, and you got to. But you know what? You may see teams. I've heard people suggest that they're, he could run the similar type system to like what Jalen does. Jalen Hurts does with Philly. So we'll see. I'm not exactly sure how you'd best utilize him, but that will be interesting. So Bears at 10. What do you got the Bears at 10?
Yeah, I got the Bears taking if they don't go O-line, which I think they would definitely look at the O-line, maybe Kelvin Banks, but I think they're going to go Tyler Warren. I know it's crazy. They got to get more weapons for Caleb. I think they go best tight end and shake it up and get Tyler Warren here. I don't know, man. He's so good. It's hard to pass him up. Get another big-time weapon, like a security blanket type guy. I know they have a good tight end already, but you get this guy on this team, man, I think Caleb has no excuses. Obviously, though, you want to protect him, so O-line makes sense. I don't know. I think Tyler Warren, man, he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, it's so hard. This is like such a hard thing to predict. I think you're probably right. It's probably Tyler Warren. This is the franchise that once had Mike Ditka. It's like it seems fitting that they would have Tyler Warren. All right, so the Niners are up at 11, and basically the board. Who's on the board? Will Johnson, Marion Hampton, Jedi Barron, Colston Loveland, Mike Green, Matthew Golden, Jihad Campbell, Kelvin Banks, Nick Emanwari, Tataroa McMillan, Derek Harmon, Mikael Williams. Now, I'm just listing all these guys because I think they're all viable. I mean, it's like if you'd said they picked anybody I've already named, I wouldn't be like, what? They took Nick Emanwari. What? I could see them doing any number of things. That's why the trade back is so intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of Walter Nolan, but Kuiper's got Walter Nolan at 39, and he's got Kenneth Grant at 43.
I know, it's crazy.
I mean, that's and Tyler Booker, who I really love, at 47. So what do you think? If this is the way it comes down, the Niners looking at Will Kuiper, just for what it's worth, says Will Johnson. But you know what? I actually think if it came down to Will Johnson or Jedi Barron, they'd take Barron. Now, I know there's been no smoke around Barron, but that's kind of why I like him around to the Niners, because with your first pick, you may want to, you may want to have a little misdirection. You may want to have a little mystery. You may want to keep it kind of quiet, right? True. So, and yet Jedi Barron's been mocked to the Niners more so than any other player.
That's crazy.
I thought that was surprising. So, I guess I would probably say, if it comes down this way, like, I think the way the Niners would think of it, Raj, is, okay, we're going to go best defensive player and just cut off half the board right away, and then go, okay, Robert Saleh, who do you like? And then it comes down to, what does Robert Saleh like? And then it's like, Will Johnson, Jedi Barron, does he go for the corner? Well, he just had Sauce Gardner. He might. They don't really have that other starter opposite Renardo, because you got Lenore in the slot where he should stay because he's awesome at it. Then the next best defensive player would be Mike Green. And then the next one after, and I like him, but he's small, and I don't know if he would stand up against the run on first and second down at 250 pounds. Then you got Jihad Campbell, who had a tremendous year at Alabama, but he's a little leggy and rangy. There's a lot of good day 3 inside linebackers.
Yeah.
Then there's Nicky Manwari. There's Derek Harmon. There's Mikael Williams. And there's Malachi Starks, Donovan Ezaraku, Shamar Stewart. What do you think? I mean, this is what, we didn't even mention, there's still, they got Luther Burden going 38th. They got some interesting things here. Josh Simmons going 31 to the Chiefs at the end of the first round. So that it kind of opens up right here, and the 49ers at 11 could really take any number of guys. I would say it's not clear who they're going to take at 11.
They could even take McMillan. They could take McMillan.
We didn't even talk about the offensive guys.
Insane.
Colston Loveland, Matthew Golden from Texas ran super fast. Kelvin Banks is still there. Yeah. There's Connerly, who a lot of people think he might be the best left tackle in the long range view of the whole thing. It's a lot of, here's another wild card. I know this sounds crazy. If the Niners really, want to replace a receiver right away, the most polished receiver is probably the Ohio State kid, Emeka Egbuka.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's very, very, very ready to go. This guy's like a 5-year veteran. So
tempting. It's tempting to get a guy like that that's so talented. He could be in your offense right away. It is, but it all goes back to what I said. I feel like this first pick is going to be D-line, which, again, there's a lot of talent. You mentioned Harmon and et cetera, et cetera. They could trade back, which I think is a very likely possibility. But I think Walter Nolan, with all the talent that's left right there, I think they go Walter Nolan. Maybe Walker if he's available. I think that'd be a fantastic pick too. But I think right now, we've talked about it. To me, they need a nasty, guy inside. And you said Salah, right? He had Sauce Gardner. He also had Quinnen Williams. They needed Quinnen Williams on this defense. I'm not going to say Quinn Nolan is exactly Quinnen Williams, but he needs a monster inside at defensive tackle. And I think Walter Nolan could be that guy. I'd be happy if it's Walter Nolan.
That's a great one. I got no problem with that. I'll just, to mix it up and, say something different, I'll say Kenneth Grant. But I think I'm with you. They need their Quinnen Williams. The Niners think from the front to the back defensively. The Seahawks think from the back to the front. The Niners historically have thought from the front to the back. In other words, the Niners are thinking D-line, and the Seahawks are drafting Devin Witherspoon. You know what I mean? And the Niners are drafting D-line. So I agree. It's most likely D-line. It does look crazy to look at the Kuiper mock and say the guy that I think the Niners should take in the first round, he has mocked to them in the second round, which is unique. I'll say that, but I don't care. I would just say Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan. That's the direction we're going to go. And then 12. We'll just finish up 12 since the contest is the top 12. What do you think happens behind the Niners with Dallas? Dallas did not have a run game. There's a lot of talk about McMillan there. There's a lot of talk about Amarion Hampton there. Jedi Barron, if the Niners do not take him, that's going to be an enormously popular decision in the state of Texas. So would Matthew Golden would be a very popular decision in the state of Texas. They just had Tyron Smith retire, maybe a Kelvin Banks. What do you think?
A lot of good players. I think, they can go Barron or Will Johnson. They could go that way. I think offensive line or offensive weapon is probably where they go. I think this is where the first wide receiver off the board comes out. You need to get help for Dak. You go get Tet. You go get McMillan. You get CeeDee Lamb and McMillan. Oh, man, I think that would really open up the offense. I could see them going offensive line, but I think they'll give Dak another weapon. That's where I'm going.
I like that. I like that idea. Teteroa McMillan. I'll go. I love that offensive weapon idea. I just think Dallas, just after having no running back, is going to go running back. And I think they're going to Marion Hampton. He's clearly the number 2 back, at least on the, in most people's opinions. I don't know if I think that, but he's definitely seems like they have to have the dynamic back. He is a dynamic back. I think they'll take him right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good take. Someone in the chat said, I hope they take the worst player in the draft. I do too.
Yeah. I hope they pass 14 times. All right, let's hit a couple supers. Jalen LeGrant, Niners going offense first, trade for a veteran on D. What veteran would you like to see them trade for on defense?
Man, I guess since we talked them up, maybe Jalen Ramsey. I actually would not hate that idea because you said earlier about, it's not going to cost a lot. And honestly, I agree. I love Renardo Green. I think he's our CB2. Like, I want to keep making this point. People got to stop sleeping on Renardo Green. But to have Deontay Lenore, Renardo Green, and Jalen Ramsey as your third cornerback, are you kidding me? That'd be amazing. And I'm not sold on Trey Brown. He's been banged up through, the last year or so. He's okay. But I think you need to improve that cornerback room. If you could do it with minimal draft capital and you get Jalen Ramsey, I'd be very, very happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's going to take. I mean, let's be completely frank about this. I mean, the 49ers have enough holes. They won't be able to fill all these holes just with rookies, most likely. The odds of it are really low. But if you could trade back, get a couple extra late day 3 picks along the way, and then flip those day 3 picks for veterans that teams are looking to move on from. I'll give you another name, and I've brought it up before, but I think Huff, the outside rusher for the Eagles, who was so good with the Jets, Bryce Huff. Mm-hmm. I think the Eagles are going to look to move him, and he would be a guy that Robert Saleh, I would imagine, would really like. And if you can get him for a day 3 pick, late day 3 pick, that's a guy I think I'd go after.
There's another guy that you don't have to trade for him, and I think people have mentioned him already. I'm sure a lot of people. Asante Samuel Jr., cornerback. You maybe put him in the slot. I know he's had some injury history here and there, so you could probably get him relatively at a lower cost, I guess. So if they don't go after Jalen, I would like to see, Asante. And then you have Trey Brown, Asante, Deontay Lenore, Renardo Green. I feel a lot more confident with that cornerback room. But yeah, I think you need to get a veteran cornerback. I really do.
We got this one too, not a super, but Tyler says trade for Kayvon or Trayvon. Trayvon Walker, I think, re-signed, or I think Trayvon Walker, I don't know if he re-signed, but I think there was some indication that he's not going to be dealt in Jacksonville. But Kayvon Thibodeau, if the Giants do take Abdul Carter at 3, as we were talking about before, then Kayvon Thibodeau could be available, and you might be able to get him for a day 3 pick. And Kayvon Thibodeau at 25 for a day 3 pick, if I'm the 49ers, I think I might have some interest in that. So that's an interesting guy to watch for sure. Baby Radiance, do you guys see the Niners bringing in Ramsey? We just kind of discussed it. I think the 49ers are going to be desperate to have a corner who can contribute right away.
I agree.
And the question is, can he contribute right away? Right. So that's the question. And how good can he be? So it'll be interesting. I think he's too old, too probably injury prone, probably not worth it at this point. Cynthia says, Larry, which player would you recommend for the O-line that would facilitate the run game? And we had that before.
Yeah,
we got this one.
Ooh,
50 spot. Woof. Look at this. How about this? Jonathan J. 1997. Jonathan J. 1997.
Let's go.
one of our older fans. No, I'm just joking.
1997.
Could be anybody's picture. He says, regarding the 49ers draft misses, has to be Stokes in 1995 because you had multiple Hall of Famers that you could have gotten. Sapp, Derek Brooks, Ty Law, Luther Ellis, Hugh Douglas, Reuben Brown. Oh, my God, to protect Steve Young versus Seifert experiments, i.e. Jamie Brown. Oh, my God.
Man, yeah.
Jamie Brown was so not good.
So
6'8" guy walking around eating a banana or orange or an apple at the facility and just sitting there. I mean, he was always snacking at lunch, and he just had the slumped over shoulders, and it's like he was just a guy that every time it was like I remember talking to him. We did a couple interviews with him, and it's like every time we talked to him, he was eating. Now, partially because they scheduled back in those days, media was lunch. So it was lunch and media. So they kind of still do that. But for some reason, the players don't seem like they eat as much as they did back then. But this guy was always chomping on a sandwich. I mean, it was just constant, absolutely constant. But man, I didn't realize that J.J. Stokes was drafted in front of all those guys. I had a college roommate who was so fired up. He's like, J.J. Stokes is going to the Pro Bowl. And I'm like,
no, man. Everybody, I thought he was going to be I was like, oh my God, you got JJ and Jerry Rice. Oh, yeah. I was hyped on that guy, but he definitely, I don't think he was the worst wide receiver we drafted because they drafted a man named AJ Jenkins. And that to me, I mean, they had some bad wide receiver blunders, but that one was bad. There's a couple other really bad.
DeAndre Smelter.
Yeah. Oh, Smelter. Oh no, there was another one in the first round. I think he was from Oregon State. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Patton. They just had. I mean, they just so many bad ones. So many bad ones.
This guy was so bad. He was oh man, I can't remember the name.
The Niners have had some draft busts. Kentwan Balmer.
Kentwan Balmer was bad. Trey Lance, Solomon Thomas. I mean, they've had a lot.
Trey Lance, Israel Ifiani.
Yeah.
Gio Carmazzi.
Gio Carmazzi. Oh man.
Gio Carmazzi and Tim Rattay in the same. You had Bill Walsh evaluating quarterbacks. You had Tom Brady in the draft, and Bill said Carmazzi and Rattay.
Man.
Tells you a lot of this is luck. By the way, from the super chat here from Jonathan, if you could have, instead of JJ Stokes, if you could have had one of those players, who would you have wanted? Who's Ringo, by the way?
Ringo.
I don't know Ringo. But Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Ty Law, Luther Ellis, Hugh Douglas, Reuben Brown. You could have one of those players.
Man, honestly,
I'd take
any of them. I'd probably take Warren Sapp, man. That guy was a fucking monster.
Yeah,
dude. Warren
Sapp was a monster. 49 problems. Larry, who's that 400-pound defensive tackle or defensive lineman? It's Watson, Desmond Watson for Florida. And he's 400. He's not 400 pounds. He's 464. Once you're 64 pounds onto the next 100 pounds, you can't be called the 100 pounds, right? If I'm 364, I can't be like, hey, man, I'm 300. If I'm 264, I can't be like, I'm 200, right? If I'm 164, I can't be walking around going, I'm 100. You can't play with, you can't, fudge 64. That's a little bit too extra. So, but this guy's actually real. He had 36 reps of 225. So he's real. He's got real strength.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Larry. So Doors fan, thank you. That's what I was thinking of. Rashawn Woods out of Oklahoma State, not Oregon State. Rashawn Woods. I remember that. First round pick, 21. They said he's gonna be the next TL. Oh my God. He was absolute dog water. I think he played like 14 games. That was one of their top worst draft picks. Oh my God.
No question. Rashawn Woods,
USC. Remember that guy? Oh man.
Taylor Mays in round 2.
Man.
Awful. Man. I mean, yeah. I mean, seriously, there's been a number of them. 49_throwback. Let's go Warriors. We winning tonight. Is that a question mark or is that a statement?
We do. We got it. Got to do it.
Hopefully. Half hour away. Or is it an hour?
No,
is it 7:30 or 7?
7.
All right, we're almost out of here. Justin says Mike McGlinchey in 2018 went before Minka Fitzpatrick, Derwin James, Jair Alexander, and Lamar Jackson.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Why do you got to bring up old stuff?
Mike McGlinchey.
Why do you got to bring up old stuff?
Yes,
Raj, what do you got cooking this week, man? Busy week. You got the draft coming up on the 24th, 25th, 26th. I got my big draft show coming up on the 19th on KMBRs this Saturday from 12 to 2. Do a little 2-hour draft show. I'm looking forward to it. What do you got cooking on the channel this week? Anything you want to promote?
Nah, nothing crazy. Just same stuff. I'm trying to stay busy at work. Next week, though, for sure, draft stuff. I got a lot of I don't know. I just been so busy, honestly. Next week, though, we locked in with the NFL draft, but nothing special this week. Nothing crazy.
Did you see Purdy hanging out with George at a Nashville Predators game? They look like big bro, little bro.
They've been hanging out this offseason. From yesterday, I know Ricky Pearsall also posted a little preview of his new YouTube, and it looks like he was training with Brock Purdy over the offseason. So Purdy's getting around. He's training with his boys. I'm excited. Yeah, it was pretty cool to see George and Brock hanging out. Their bond is great. So cool to see that. And, George's a big Predators fan. So, it's good to bring your buddy along to the Predators game. That's cool.
Got him a jersey.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something.
Had him on somebody said, because they were like doing the celebration. Somebody said, I know one of the comments on that, they were like, thank God it wasn't the kiss cam.
Seriously. Okay. Last one. Will Jonathan Kuminga play at all tonight? And what in the hell is Steve Kerr doing not playing Jonathan Kuminga at all? Don't these guys realize it's 2025? Your main guys are old as sin. You need Pods and Moody and mostly Kuminga to help lead the way. Somebody slip a note to Kerr and tell him that. You're gonna try to do this without Kuminga. I don't know if I've seen anything more. I love Steve. I'm a big fan of Steve. He's the Olympic coach. He's a great coach. You really thought you were going to leave Kuminga with no minutes at all on this team, and you would have enough scoring and playmaking and to beat the Clippers? His use of Kuminga is horrible. Horrible.
The thing with it,
he's a genius. He knows all, whatever. I get it. I know nothing. I'm just some guy with a YouTube channel, and he's the king of all. But come on.
It's bad. The thing with Kuminga is he's supposed to be this big time player. They're developing, and I don't know if he's developing right. He's done it with other players before. I'm not gonna get into all that, but Kerr has done that where he's killed someone's development. And honestly, man, like they blocked a lot of trades that involve Kuminga, and maybe they should have traded. If you're not going to use them, trade them. If you're on your last regular game of the season, playoffs on the line, don't you want your best players? To me, it tells me a lot of how he values Kuminga. And you mean to tell me his offense couldn't help his defense? Because, you got Kawhi in there. I feel like he could have helped better than Gary Payton. I like GP. He's supposed to be a great perimeter defender, but Kawhi went off on him. Maybe you could have put in Kuminga, who has the athleticism. So it was crazy. But I think after that, I don't know mentally if Kuminga is going to even be that. To me, that's a big detriment to his mental health. I think they got to move on from Kuminga next year. I don't know. That was bad.
That's it. It's time to trade Kuminga. Somebody said, JD was saying the other day, how about Kuminga to the Kings for Keegan Murray and Valanciunas?
Something. They need a big
something like that. Something like that might not be bad. Maybe somebody who can a little bit more skilled. I don't know. But I'll say this: you better get something good in return because Jonathan Kuminga is one of the best athletes in the entire league. Yeah, and you know what? I don't know. Maybe it's time for Steve to just give it up. I hate to say it. It's funny. People rip Kerr, and I got my buddy who runs a donut shop in the creek here, Raj, and he's always ripping Kerr. He's like, "Oh man, they need to fire Kerr." I'm like, "Dude, they have parades, they've won championships." And then I've got other buddies, and them, and there's people on Niner, Twitter and Niner content creators who are like, the Niners would be great if they would just get rid of that idiot Kyle Shanahan. It's like, and I'm always like, "Come on, dude, really?" But now I'm sounding like that because I'm like, maybe Kerr's at the end. So just I don't know who deserves blame more, Steve Kerr or Kyle Shanahan. Steve Kerr's got rings, but that's a hard one because I think it's him right now for not playing Kuminga.
I mean, not only that, but there's other questionable decisions. You could argue either way. I think the thing is, though, Kerr won championship, so you can't sit there and discredit him too much, although he had some great talent. I will say this about the Warriors. Whatever they do, they need to get some size, man. They haven't had a true center in like 6 years, so go get a center. I know it doesn't fit the rotation, but you need some damn size, man. They are lacking down below. I just hope they win tonight. Regardless of how it goes down, I hope they win tonight. We need to see playoff Jimmy, and we need to see, Steph being Steph. But playoff Jimmy, let's strap up the backpack and carry these guys tonight.
Look at John. Look at Josh. Kerr's a legend. Kyle's a fraud.
Oh,
wow. Tell me that you're not bipolar without telling me you're not bipolar. All right. Good take, though. Good take. Thanks for jumping in there, Josh. Last thought before we get out of here. What's your final tonight?
Warriors 103, Memphis 101. It's going to be close down to the wire.
103-101.
I know.
I'm on after. I'm doing a live stream after. So everybody check that out. Appreciate all you guys. Thanks to Raj. Thanks to LearnKey, our LearnKey Upskill Academy. The link's in the description below. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle, the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Raj. Thanks to all of you. Let me just check to see if we have any last comments. I thought I had a last comment there.
Dubs, man.
No, we got them all. We got them all. That does it. Thanks to everybody. Peace. Once again, thanks for supporting the Krug Show. See you after Warrior basketball. Go Dubs.
Yeah, never met a man I've been